Welcome to Medieval Moments. You're just 20 wizard's paces away from swords, sorcery, and bad hygiene.
Right this way, please.
Excuse me, my good man. I believe thou meant to say, righteth this wayeth. Someday, but not today.
Welcome one and all. Growing up, Medieval Times was one of those places that we always wanted to go to, but for some reason, we just never had the chance. I mean, just think of it. A dinner, eating roasted chicken legs with your bare hands, and enjoying the spectacle of knights fighting and jousting while you cheer for yours to win. I mean,
what's better than this? Guys being dudes.
Medieval Times has found an interesting place in pop culture. I feel like it's one of those things that everyone knows about it, and it appears in movies and TV shows and stuff, but no one really ever talks about it in their daily lives.
And that should be changed. I think we should just bring jousting back as a sport in general. I mean,
what happened to society?
But quite recently, we were able to fulfill our childhood dream of going to Medieval Times. And let me tell you, it did not disappoint.
So much so, in fact, we wanted to take an entire episode to dedicate to these magnificent castles and what they have to offer inside the Golden Gates.
And it also made us curious. What exactly is the history of this famous dinner and a show? So, without any further ado, take a seat, grab your mutton, and let us get into the history of Medieval Times. If you didn't know any better, you may think that Medieval Times is a purely American phenomenon. And I mean, that would make a lot of sense. It's about entertainment, it's about the spectacle. It brings you back to a romanticized version of history. But believe it or not, Medieval Times actually started in Spain. In the 1960s, a man by the name of José Montaner opened a barbecue restaurant on the island of Majorca, off the southern coast of Spain. But here was the problem. So did someone else. So, in the spirit of competition, Montaner searched for a way to differentiate his restaurant from all the rest.
One day, Montaner overheard some English tourists talking about medieval fairs, and an idea popped in his head. What if he can lure more barbecue patrons by seating them in front of an indoor dinner theater with dueling knights serving wenches and horses? That's all you need.
That's all you need.
The big three. Dueling knights,
wenches,
and horses.
Listen up, Disney. Forget Mickey's 10 Commandments.
Yeah.
Knights, wenches, and horses.
The gamble paid off, and before Medieval Times even reached North America in the 1980s, the idea was so successful that Montaner even opened a second location.
From there, the idea was picked up by a group of investors who decided to work with Montaner to transport the idea to the United States. The first location under the name Medieval Times opened in 1983 in Kissimmee, Florida, just 15 minutes away from Walt Disney World.
And everything seemed to be a success. The Kissimmee location attendance of 183,000 in 1984 rose to 600,000 by 1993. And a second location was opened in Buena Park, California in 1986.
And today, Medieval Times has 10 different castles all across North America, the newest of which opened in Scottsdale, Arizona in 2019, just a short time ago. So, now that we've looked at the history a little bit, let's take a look at what makes Medieval Times such a good time.
So, we have to start off with the castle itself. No matter what Medieval Times you go to, you pull in, you see that beautiful castle, and you're immediately immersed into the 11th century, or at least the idea of the 11th century in Spain.
And from there, you'll pass through the main entrance, and at least in the location we went to, in Kissimmee, there was a large open hall where you could buy merchandise and other medieval-themed items. And don't get me wrong, when you see a giant sword, I mean, you just want to buy it.
From there, you'll pass into the tournament to take your seats. The audience is divided in 6 different sections, 3 on each side of the big jousting arena. There's 6 different colors that you get assigned to that represents a different knight, as you'll be cheering on your knight of color.
Yes, you are the lords and the ladies of the land who have come to take part and marvel at the outstanding feats to be presented in this tournament. And let me just say, this was my favorite part of the show. Even just being told that you had someone to cheer for, that you had a knight that represented you and your seat, it gets you invested in the show in a completely different way. And let me tell you, we were all out with our cheering.
You're going down, Red Knight! Going down, down, down! Red Knight going down!
My throat was dead by the end.
Then, at the beginning, there will be a grand light show, an introduction of the Queen, Doña Maria Isabel.
Wow.
Wow. Her Majesty.
Her Majesty. Her Grace.
Her Grace.
The wench herself.
The wench herself.
All hail the Queen.
And there will also be an introduction for the rest of the knights as well. And if we haven't gone over the colors yet, there is the Green Knight, the Red and Yellow Knight, the Red Knight, the Blue Knight, the Yellow Knight, and the Black and White Knight.
What kind of confused me is that they started like combining like the Red and Yellow Knight. Like, why not purple? Like, what did purple ever do to you?
Purple didn't exist in the 11th century. Yes, and then of course, you'll be served your wonderful dinner, a dinner worthy of a lord of the 11th century.
So you get started with some tomato soup, just like the olden days.
Yeah, just like
and
the
some
olden days.
Texas toast, just like
Garlic bread.
Yes. I personally, I'm not really a tomato soup gal, but it was kind of with the Texas toast, dipping in it. It was pretty good.
Dipping in it.
Dipping in it, because no spoons. You drank it.
You are
in the
not
bowl.
served any
Silverware.
silverware at medieval times.
I'm
just
sure you
the
can
way
probably ask,
you can ask,
but
you shouldn't.
Can I get a knife and fork?
There were no utensils in medieval times, hence there are no utensils at medieval times. Would you like a refill on that Pepsi?
Then of course you'll be served your roasted chicken, and of course you'll have some sides of potatoes, and the obviously time-appropriate dessert of a chocolate eclair.
the eclair.
While eating, you'll begin to spectate the tournament. It will start with sporting events, have breaks for the show of horses and the royal falconer,
Wow.
who will have a falcon fly around the room. It was pretty cool. And of course, it will end with the main event, the joust and the sword fighting.
Oh yeah.
And while there is a story to medieval times, it's not so much about the story as it is about the spectacle of the event. Part of this may have to do with where we were sitting, but we couldn't quite understand everything that was being said.
We're like the farthest away we could be from the queen that we could be, and
Arms down.
But from what we did understand, the main story, it's a typical joust ride. They're fighting, they're having a good time, and then one of the knights is a traitor. He goes up to the queen and says she is unfit to rule because she is a woman. And apparently it's different for every show, but in our show it was the Blue Knight. So it was kind of funny that even after the Blue Knight insulted the queen, said she was unfit to rule, those sitting in the blue section were still cheering for her. They're like, yeah!
Sex it up!
And then there was a knight who defended the queen's honor. In our show, it was the Yellow Knight, slayed the Blue Knight.
Yes.
And peace was restored to the kingdom, and the Yellow Knight was awarded the title of Defender of the Throne. But again, really it's about the spectacle and seeing guys beat at each other with swords and horses. And
I was surprised at the level of choreography. Like, you can tell, like, it's fake fighting, but, like, I wasn't expecting, there was, like, sparks flying everywhere when they, like, hit swords. I'm like, whoa!
no, it was impressive.
Yeah.
And apparently, every couple of years or so, the show has changed. The most recent, I think it started in 2019, and it was the first show that had a queen presiding over the tournament. So I
Whoa.
think that might be the inspiration behind the story there, which
Yes.
is kind of interesting.
All hail the Queen.
We'll have to go back when there's a new show. Or
Yes.
heck, I'll go back now.
Yeah, I'll go back
I'll go back
anytime.
and watch the same show.
I'm glad I was able to finally experience my childhood dream of eating a half of a chicken with my bare hands while I watched two men duke it out with swords.
In the end, Medieval Times was an absolute blast. We would love to go again. We recommend anyone, if you have the chance to go, go. And it just got me thinking, like, why aren't there more things like this? There should be more dinner and a show themed to many things. I would just eat that stuff up. Like if there's a pirate themed one or a western themed one. Think about Universal. With their budget, they could make a Harry Potter like dueling club themed show in the middle. Like that would be so fun. You know how much people would pay for that? Come on, Universal, get it going. It's a really simple idea, the dinner and a show. It can be executed so well. So yeah, have you ever been to Medieval Times before? How did you like it? What knight is the best? It's obviously the Red Knight, even though he died.
Just not blue.
Not blue. Blue sucks.
You're wearing blue.
I know.
You know what's not blue? The subscribe button.
Yes, it's red, just like the Red Knight. So hit it, just like the Blue Knight hit the Red Knight and killed him. You do that and kill the subscribe button.
Be the Blue Knight. Kill the red button. Smash it.
Even though the Blue Knight sucks.
He does suck.